Gravity. In 1986, I went to an insight seminar. I had been meditating regularly since 1983, an hour and a half a day. 1 hour meditating on divine light in the heart in the early morning, and 1/2 hour doing cleaning, pushing the accumulation of the day out the backside in the form of smoke or fog in the evening before bed. Then a short prayer just before sleep. O Master, thou art the real goal of human life. We are yet but slaves of wishes, putting bar to our advancement. Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage. This is the practice of the group which was called Sahaj Marg in those days, and at the direction of the fourth master, the second died in April of 1983, now called Heartfulness. It has since been augmented with the 9 p.m. prayer, imagining for 10 minutes that the world is being filled with grace. The Insight Seminar took a long weekend, during which time I wasn't hungry and I couldn't sleep. At the end of it, I could see that it was a method to give regular Joes a Satori experience and make them wish for more, which they were happy to supply for additional cash. I still couldn't eat or sleep, and I went out of it. I was listening to Sun Singer by Paul Winter and imagining myself balancing on top of the world as it accelerated away from the sun. Then I started following street signs, turning whichever way they said to go. I lived at the time in a house with 8 people on Broadway in Cambridge, Massachusetts, near Central Square. During this time, I would crawl around the floor on hands and knees. When my housemates found me worshiping the fire in the fireplace in the living room, they knew something was up. They took me to the local hospital where the staff worked until they convinced me to go to a mental hospital in an ambulance. I landed at the Arbor in Jamaica Plain for 12 days. But that's another story. The title of this essay is Gravity. What does that have to do with an insight seminar and consequential break with reality? Balancing on the world as it accelerates away from the sun, that's what. I thought of it as part of my trip. Not eating for 5 days causes stuff to be released from your fat cells, in my case, nitrous oxide and LSD. But now I'm convinced that it was a sensitized me experiencing reality. Gravity behaves just like masses accelerating away from each other. The equations that describe them are the same. The amount of acceleration is determined by the mass of the two objects, a gravitational constant, the speed of light, and the inverse square of the distance between them. But it's just acceleration, experienced as a force, when you're not in free fall relative to the mass. The Big Bang is one theory for the beginning of the universe. It is consistent with this theory of gravity. Gravity then becomes a spewing out of space from the original point of mass, and some of that space coagulates into additional masses, which also spew out space. The flow of space depends on the mass. Larger masses are larger sources of whatever is beyond the universe. Mass means acceleration of space near the mass. I believe that the cosmological redshift is nothing but this, but I haven't done the math to verify their equivalence. Maybe one of my readers will do so. That will likely include figuring out how the space mixes when it meets other space accelerating in a different direction. There may be some kind of spatial mixing constant involved. I don't know if space behaves the same as matter, but I doubt it. We already know, via Michelson-Morley, possibly all that is necessary. I feel as if I should have more to say, but I think that's it. My muse will work on it and maybe get back with an update later.